Hey everyone, I'm Wes Sego, and this is AVF Term 1304, Week 2. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my project, and I'm going to demo that for you on my computer first so we don't have to deal with the glare. And then I'll demo it on my devices. So here we go. Okay, this is my app, my iOS version of the demo app. I finally settled on a color scheme that's going to work for astronomy. I mean, your eyes, when they get color adjusted or light adjusted, the reds don't really affect you that much. So I'm going to have to get rid of the white text, but that'll get worked out in the end. As far as my feeds, I chose Twitter, which we had to, and I also chose a weather app. This is the Eris API, and for the Twitter feed, really, I ran out of time. I didn't get a chance to style it the way that I wanted to. Um, I didn't even get to the point of adding my pictures over here, but it's really not something that Twitter's a pretty easy API to deal with. So I really spent a lot of time this week on two things. I worked with CSS because that's probably the weakest part of my game. I'm very familiar with HTML, and I'm not afraid of JavaScript at all. I mean, I code pretty well in JavaScript, so I did not choose to do my app with jQuery Mobile. Um, I just thought that it would be a much better experience for me to do it with, all hand coded. So that's the direction that I went in. But I do want to talk a little bit about this weather feed. This is I spent a whole lot of time this week on this as well. Not so much here. What I have there is this is live weather, and it's for Orlando, which is where I live. But there's a paid version of this. This is the Eris feed, and one of the things that it was pretty cool about it was it's only listed as JSON, but they actually do, when you get into the documentations, they do offer JSON P. But one of the issues is you have to register with them for an account, number one, and then it is free, but you also have to register each application that you're going to use. And if you want to do it in JSON P, you have to register your callback as part of the app. So it's not. It was just a good learning experience. I mean, there were a lot of ins and outs of it. There was a whole lot of documentation to mull through to get to it. But what I've got here is just, this is basically giving me these conditions for right now in Orlando. But this first one, the current condition, there's actually a list of these where, clear, sunny, rainy, or rain, that type of thing, you could actually create as part of um, your JavaScript. You could use that as a variable to pull in a picture. So you could have a picture for each of those types of conditions. And I didn't code it this way because I just didn't have time. But there were a lot of possibilities for this one. And also, in my tagline where I go out and grab this feed, I just have Orlando hard coded in there. But there was a couple of different things that I thought about with that. I could create a search type issue where you punch in a zip code and it would give you the weather. Or next week, obviously, when we do the geolocation, I could have it set up to where when the application starts, it would go out with geolocation, grab your latitude and longitude, create those into variables, and plug those into that JavaScript call so that wherever you were standing at that moment, you would get the closest weather feed. So there's really just a whole lot that can go on with that particular feed. And the one other thing that they offer that was going to be or will be of great benefit for me is they do have, if you use the paid API, they give you moon phases. So right now I'm giving you just one feed of right now, but this thing actually forecasts 5 days into the future. So you could have like five little, tables on the bottom or lists on the bottom, one for each day. So it would give you the next 5 days with the moon phase. And so I was really excited about that. But, again, I spent way too much time on it. I didn't get around to putting in pictures and all of that other stuff. But I did get it to the point where I'm happy with the responsiveness. It's done on a grid, so it is a fluid grid. I wound up buying Ethan Marcote's book and read that, but I set the break point so that it will go down to 100%. But the other thing, I did make it responsive. Just a couple of things. You'll notice up here the title, iOS demo, when it does hit that break point, it centers that. And then there was another spot down here where if you go over to the research page, I wasn't really crazy about having this little icon over here on the left. It kind of looks lonely by itself, so it should be in the middle. But the reason I left it there on the left is because I wanted to illustrate that that is part of the responsiveness. Whenever it pulls over, it'll do that. So, it'll center itself. Now, I didn't get to the point of making my text responsive, but I went through quite a number of tutorials this week on Treehouse and some other places to really get a good grasp of that. And like I said before, in this whole thing, CSS is my weakest point. So I probably learned more about CSS this week, which is not a whole lot, but more than I knew when this week started. So pretty happy with that. So let me grab the devices and I'll show it to you deployed on both of my devices. Okay, as far as deploying it to the devices, I'll start off with the Google Nexus 7, and there were a couple of little quirks with the Google that I'll let you know about. The first one that I noticed was, on the iOS emulator, or I'm sorry, on the iPad, if you start the application and one of the feeds isn't completely responsive, it just starts up and there's nothing there. But on this particular device, if you start up, it'll kind of time out and give you an error message if it can't get to that feed immediately. So turn it over this way and see that it does go back to the fluid grid. Let's see if I can do that in reverse. Yeah, there we go. Goes over to the research page. So, and I'll show it to you on the iPad, which is quite a bit easier to see. A little bit larger. Let's see. And back to that Twitter feed. This is actually a feed of the Celestron, hashtag Celestron. Celestron's a company that makes telescopes. So, and I just have it set to pick up the last 5. There were a lot of little things in the CSS that I still need to work on, and I'm going to go to the 960 grid instead of, I created one that's 1,000 pixels based on 1,000 pixels, and it's 12 grids, 12 columns. But just dealing with the padding and the margins on that stuff, there's a lot to it. So I tried to really absorb that stuff, and I really spent, I didn't have a lot of time this week, but I spent every single bit of it working on this project this week. And I'm really happy with it. I mean, it's not so much the project, but what I learned. So anyway, I hope everyone had a great week, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks.